Hello, hi, this is Dr. Dheeraj Masapu. I'm anesthesiologist and specialized in neuroanesthesiology. So today I would like to talk about the differences between practicing as a anesthetist in corporate hospital versus doing freelancing. So basically, I would like to define a corporate hospital as any hospital above 200 beds capacity, and which would have a structured team, which will have a head of the department, and there will be a tier of consultants and junior consultants. And in some centers, you have a DNB program, so there will be DNB students and teaching sessions will be there. And in some centers, they don't have a dedicated program, so there would be senior residents working there. But overall, I can say you will be having around a minimum of 10 to 15 staff in one particular hospital, and depending on the beds, usually a 300 plus bedded hospital would be having somewhere around 20 anesthesiologists, and 400 500 bedded hospitals would be having somewhere around 30 to 40, and some centers around 60 anesthesiologists. So this is about corporate. Freelancing, if you come on the other side, you are alone. And sometimes if you feel it's a very risky case or a pediatric case, then you might take help of another anesthesiologist that you need to arrange. Or sometimes hospital only will arrange. So these are the two structures I'm going to compare. So both have pros and cons. I'm going to tell you one by one. So first, coming to the corporate practice. So basically the pros are like, immediately after your DNB or MD anesthesia, the skills would be slightly lesser. So the independent practice skills is what I'm talking about. So practicing in a structured team would always be helpful. So because if you have some problem, there will always be a help for you, which is very important, because if you are stuck in some situation, there is always some kind of help coming to you. That is the advantage. And also you'll be in touch with teaching sessions if a DNB program is there. So you will be helping them in developing the thesis and also training them in certain classes. So this will actually help you in being in touch with recent advances also. And the third advantage is that the equipment. The equipment that would be present in the corporate hospitals would be state of the art. So you will be having all the advanced gadgets like fiber optics, video laryngoscopes, advanced anesthesia workstations, and ICU backup and intensive care team to help you if some problem is there. So all are the pros in a corporate hospital. And one more advantage is a structured day. So your day would be is more like start. Most of the centers start at around 7:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning, and the day usually ends by 5 or 5:30 in the evening. So after that, there will be a dedicated duty team, and they will be taking care of the calls in the night, like some gastro cases or neuro emergency cases or any other case which comes. So this is about the corporate practice. So freelancing practice, I have actually done freelancing practice before I joined neuroanesthesiology training. So freelancing practice is more like the pros are the salary would be slightly higher initially compared to the corporate practice. So that usually excites many people to enter immediately into freelancing, and there is no hierarchical system. So you are your own boss. So that also might excite some people to get into freelancing practice. So, and the third thing would be freedom. For example, if you don't want to practice some days, for example, if you want to take rest for 3 days, you can just tell no to certain hospitals and you can take rest in your home. Or if you're not feeling well, if you want to take a leave and go to some vacation, the day is in your control. So that is the advantage that a freelancer has. So these are some of the pros of doing a freelancing practice. And coming to the cons of corporate practice, there is a big hierarchical system. So what happens is you need to join as a senior resident, and then you need to escalate to a junior consultant, then you need to escalate to a consultant. Then so it is a journey you need to go through. Each step would take around 3 to 4 years on an average. So for a long period of time, if you think corporate practice, you would become a consultant over a period of time. On an average, I can say that it takes around 7 to 10 years depending on the center. For example, see, in some centers you immediately might become a consultant, So those are usually 100 to 150 bedded hospitals, or sometimes 50 bedded hospitals. But in the centers where are 300 plus bedded or 400 or 500 bedded hospitals, directly you never become a consultant after MD and DNB. You need to grow in this fashion. So that is about the one of the con, which I think. But if you have patience, that is not a con. So in the end, I will tell you which is better. That time I'll explain this aspect. Another con would be the salary system. If freelancers always get a better salary, but in this corporate practice, the initial salary would be low because that is how the hierarchical system is there. But as the days, as the years progress, you will slowly escalate with your salaries. So that is another con in the corporate practice. And coming to freelancing cons, so here I would like to tell one of the stories which I actually faced. So what happened is, one day I'm a big movie buff, so I actually booked tickets for one particular movie, and this was one of my favorite heroes movie. I went to the movie, and as soon as the movie started, I got a call from my hospital saying there is an emergency cesarean section, and I had to get up from the movie and go to the movie. So that day I felt really bad because one side work and all that is, I know being a doctor you need to go and attend that. On the other side, if you have a personal life and you have some kind of a commitment, so that gets affected in the freelancing practice. I felt that day. So this aspect many people don't understand when they start the practice, but as the years go on, you would actually love to have a structured days, I feel, than having some kind of a haphazard days where you don't know what is going to come next. And sometimes in freelancing practice, what happens is most of the day you'll be free because you wouldn't get calls from the hospitals, and suddenly in the evening when you have some work, you get some calls for cases. 2-3 cases will be there in a stretch. So the day is not in your control. So freelancing paradox, you can call it. So it is more like you feel that the day is in your control, but the end of it won't be in your control. That kind of a situation I have gone into, and it has become a vicious loop for me. So see, for example, morning, if you're free between 9 to 12 or 9 to 2 o'clock, and you end up not doing anything, and then evening suddenly you plan to do something and something will come up. So this kind of an unstructured day irritated me a lot, and that has led me to take a decision to enter the structured corporate practice. So right now I'm working in a corporate hospital. I have a structured day, even though since I'm a super specialist, my working hours will be slightly higher than other people, but there is a structure to it. And there is always a team which, there is a backup team always available. So this is a biggest con for freelancing practice. So coming to my suggestion to you guys, we have to talk reality. During the postgraduate training, we wouldn't have worked independently. You need to understand that. So even if you worked independently also, you wouldn't have dealt the kind of cases that you are going to deal in the reality. So what I would suggest is think long term. In a longer term perspective, I feel that you need to enter a institution based practice, that is either a corporate hospital or a bigger team. Or there are some teams like Exxon in Hyderabad, and so many other teams are there where you can be part of the team and try to be in a bigger team, so that you initial years, first 4 to 5 years, you need some kind of a backup. That is one aspect. And second aspect is, even if you're a trained person also, I feel that in longer term, if you have a proper structure in your day, then your life will be peaceful. So morning you go for work, and evening if you come back from work, and then you can plan your evening with your kids, or you can plan your evening for some kind of other activity or a gym or something. So that would give you a kind of a balance between your work and life. So that is more important in a longer run than actually slogging for money, and finally, what happens is, at the end of it, what I observed is, after 7 to 8 years of practice, once you become a consultant in a corporate hospital, you'd be actually making more than what freelancers are doing. So if you are ready to invest 7 to 10 years of your life and work in an institution-based practice, at the end of it, you get a better fruit than doing freelancing. Freelancing might give you initial amount, But the thing is, what is the price you're paying if you think you are paying the price of your life there? So which I would not suggest to my subscribers. What I would tell them is enter a corporate based practice or institution based practice. So hope you guys understood the essence of what I'm trying to tell you. So always think long term, and also try to have a work life balance. And after going home, see, you take a call and give an advice, that is fine, but it should not be like you again go back to the hospital, again treat a patient, again come back and repeat it every day. That irritates a lot, actually. That takes a lot of toll on the body, and that's a huge price to pay. And even family and kids expect some time from you when after you go home. So that kind of life you'll have in a structured organizations. So that is the point I'm trying to tell. So you might be thinking, since I work in a corporate hospital, my suggestion is biased towards corporate. But that is why I told pros and cons of both in the beginning, and then I told my opinion in the end. So that is about the differences between both. And if you want to know the salaries that you can earn in both the places, I have done a video. I don't want to repeat it again. So that is there in my channel. You can go through how much money actually consultants make, how much money the freelancers make, and all those details are there in that particular video. So, and one more advantage is also there in corporate or a long term. See, when you work in a corporate hospital for a longer term, so what happens is, if some other corporate hospital opens up nearby, or some other big hospital comes up nearby, when they're trying to hire, they usually hire people who have a corporate experience. For example, if we are hiring, then if two people apply, one has done a freelancing for a period of 15 years and one has worked in a corporate hospital for a period of 7 to 8 years, and in that 1 to 2 years he's worked as a consultant, we would always prefer him, because he would know how the atmosphere here will be, how the game is played here, everything he would be understanding better. So the way he communicates with the patients and the soft skills would be totally different between both the types of practices. So, and also he would be in touch with the training program if it is there. So he would also be a kind of teacher. So these kind of advantages you would get. And what I am looking is, in future, after 10-15 years, how the world would be, you have to assume, and then you should plan your career. So not looking at the present. So after 10 to 15 years, what I feel is there will be all big hospitals. So big hospitals, I don't know whether a government control or a private control, but there will be only big hospitals. So when there are big hospitals, they will usually tend to hire people who have experience in working in such kind of hospitals. So you have to plan your life 10 to 15 years ahead of what kind of a scenario would be there, and then you have to reverse engineer. That would actually help you. So that is what I'm trying to do. So I personally made this calculation in 2012. So when many people were actually practicing, in town, what I thought is, after 25 years, corporate hospitals would be there everywhere, including towns. So at that point of time, to place myself in a very good position, then I need to do DM, I need to do something different, and I need to have a corporate experience, is what I thought those days. So I think you should also think in similar terms and plan your life. So if one more important thing is, if you plan to enter an organization kind of a thing, you have to start from beginning. Parallel entries are very difficult. So you have to enter as a junior and grow along with the organization. And one more important thing is, safety wise, if you see, the safety is always with the bigger hospital, because see, what happens is, if the business is not running, if the hospitals are not running, the bigger organizations will have always some kind of a leverage. So they can take up the hit. So they can, usually during the COVID times, and some kind of event happens in future. So bigger organizations usually take up the hit, and still they will give salaries to the employees and they will try to retain them. But if you're a freelancer, if some kind of it is there, the hospital doesn't have any kind of obligation with you. So he will just tell you that you don't have to come. And you cannot question him, because you are not an employee of that particular hospital. So that is another scenario you should be ready to face if you're a freelancer. So, but finally, to conclude, if you want immediate money and if you want to work independent, if you want, at least if you want to feel the days are in your control, freelancing is the best option. But if you think long term, if you think futuristic, and if you want to be in a different type of league and game, then corporate practice or organization institute based practice would be better. So that's it, guys. Hope this video would add a lot of value to you, and hope to come with such kind of topics in future. As usual, Dr. Dheeraj Masappu logging off. Roger that.